The following information is about a theme pack overview. This is provided by FileMakerThemes.com and the Theme Studio product. The theme is for FileMaker Pro, and the name of this theme is Iconic Sidebars. And here's your information about this theme. Hello there, this is Matt Petrowski, the creator of the Theme Studio. In this video, we're taking a look at customizing the Iconic Sidebars theme, and we're going to look at the features and benefits of this particular theme. Now, this is designed as a mobile theme, which, as we can see on screen, we've got the iPad version. It's not very clear right now because it's being scaled down. Let me switch over to my desk scribble application so I can focus on all of the different features. Now, what we're going to find up at the top is we have a tab area where you can have as many tabs, obviously named however you want to have those. Then in the central area, I happen to name this task list, but of course you can use this as an overhead or an overview of any of the types of information that you're using to display in your FileMaker database. You can see that I've got these buttons on either side of this particular feature. Now, I had set this up so that you would be able to use something like execute SQL and be able to cycle through each of these three sticky notes if you wanted to. But these sticky notes themselves, what they are is they are actually graphics that have been embedded directly within the actual portal. So as I click here on the theme, and you can see that this one is scrolling right there. What I'm getting is I have this scrolling effect, and that's because each of these are turned on as individual scrolling portals. The same for the middle one and the same for the last one. Now you can see that the first note has a particular look, and then on each alternating row, that note has a different look. So in fact, let's put this one on. You can see the two different notes side by side, where here we just have a little bit of a difference in terms of the bottom, in terms of the page curl. Now there is a portal that is off to the side of the layout when you go into layout mode that we can take a look at, that you have access to, that will allow you to use it for a vertical scrolling portal. But for right here, what we have is we have portal 1, portal 2, and portal 3, and that allows us to have what's known as a horizontal portal. And that's one of the first features. So basically what you have is the option to turn off scroll bars, which are not being displayed on this particular theme, on this 1, 2, and 3 slot, and then use these buttons on the side in order to move between all of the different content that you actually want to show. Another feature of this particular theme is the sidebars. It's obviously called Iconic Sidebar for a reason, because it's designed so that you have these two sidebars, which are right in line with the thumbs when held in the portrait orientation. Of course, this theme was designed so that it will work just as well when you rotate into the landscape orientation, but you can see that we have these icons, and the icons, as I'm going to show in the rest of this video, are made so that you can make it work on a Retina display iPad, and it will also work on your regular resolution iPad, such as the iPad 1 and the iPad 2. In fact, I don't know if FileMaker 12 actually runs on the iPad 1. But here we have, in this area right here, our standard list toggle, which basically when we click that, what we're going to see, there was the orientation. I'll say don't allow on that. But when I click on that, you're going to see that we're going to switch into a list view where we can actually scroll through, and we've got a standard list, and the task list stays up at the top. And as I switch the tabs, you can see the little highlight right there. Now, everything designed within this theme has been designed using FileMaker native gradients and features so that it looks just as good on your Retina resolution as on your regular, but the icons are something that you need to make special note of. I'm going to be showing you where to get icons to complement this particular theme. It's really easy. It's at the Noun project, but I'm going to show you how to actually get them in a format so that it'll look good on Retina, and it's also a tip that you can use in the rest of your FileMaker development. So now that we've got this covered, and basically I just put a little web portal here in this area where you've got a little map that can display, and of course you could use a tab or something and have that expand to a larger view. Right there where it said the word another header that we see right there underneath, I would probably, if I was designing an actual FileMaker solution, I might put like a little magnifying glass and have the word in large right here. That may not look like magnifying glass, but basically you click on that and it would take you to maybe another little hidden tab in this whole area where this this whole area would basically show or go to another tab and show you a much more expanded view of this particular map. And you would be able to then, interact with the map more successfully. But this little mini map is basically going to show you whatever content is right over here. Now, one of the features that this particular theme has built in was based on an article that I recently covered over at FileMakerMagazine.com talking about data-based field labels. So when I create a new record on this particular theme, so I'm down here at the bottom and I go new record, what's going to happen is I'm automatically going to get these labels. And the way that the labels have been set up is they are within the field itself. It is data and it's a prompt, but they're controlled actually on the layout in terms of what the name of the label reads. This allows me to put a completely different name for the field behind the scenes as a developer, and that's integrated into this particular theme. You can change the names of these. I'll show you where they're at when we take a look at the layout view. But I think for the most part, that's what's going to give us all of our features. As I commit here, it's not going to allow me to accept this record with just the regular labels. In other words, it wants to ensure that I have data within the actual fields, and it will revert. It'll actually just take me back, and in this case, it took me back to a different record, but that could be solved with scripting. But I want to walk you through all the different features, what you find on layout mode when you go into this theme, and how you can actually customize it with regards to the colors and where you can take this particular theme. All right, I've now switched into FileMaker 12, where we can take a look at customizing this particular theme. Now, the first thing you're probably going to be interested in is controlling the actual icons that we have on these fields. Now, FileMaker design and development used to be based on pixels. In fact, a lot of design and development, inclusive of web pages, used to be based on pixels. But we're no longer working in a pixel-based world. Apple changed that with iOS and then all of the other tablets that followed, or phones, or whatever it is. I don't know if specifically it was Apple, but I do know that because of the Retina resolution, we have either a doubling or a quadrupling of the number of icons. So we need to double the size of the icon that is within an actual image. Now, when we take a look at these buttons, what you're going to do as I go into layout mode on this particular theme is, if you want to be Retina compliant, or I should say, you want your design to look good in Retina, what happens is when you select a particular object, and this object itself is an actual button, when we go over to the Appearance tab, you're going to see that the fill is currently set to an image. The other important thing to note is that the scale to fit is what has been set. Now, the important thing about using scale to fit is that when you export your actual graphics or your actual artwork, you need to export it pretty much based on the same dimensions as what you have in the first place. So in this case, what I have is a square button. So what I want to export is pretty much also going to need to be a square. That means oftentimes you're not going to export a graphic at its absolute dimensions. In other words, what we see here is we see a lot of space in above and below this particular icon, because if we were to put a rectangle around it, naturally at its edges, it would be more wide than it is square. And so obviously we want to add some size to that. So the place where I get a lot of icons, you can obviously search online at iconfinder.com or other icon sites. But in this case, what I did is I went for public domain or freely accessible icons, which we can take a look at if we needed to in a web browser. You can go to thenounproject.com. In fact, let's take a look at that. So here I am on the nounproject.com. Let's get that up on screen for you. It's http thenounproject.com. Pretty straightforward. I'm going to go into the search, and what you can do is, let's say I'm looking for a calendar, and that will search, and then we'll come up with a calendar. You can see that it gives you a little indication currently, as of the shooting of this video, what is available on this site. Now you can see right here that the Noun Project used to have a lot of icons that were completely free, open source, public domain. Now they've actually got people, other contributors contributing, and you can, for example, buy for $1.99. But if you go down here at the bottom and click on a number of these, you can see that this particular one was public domain, meaning you can use it as is. And some of them you need to give attribution if it's a Creative Commons. But basically I would download these. And when I would download these, you can see down in the very bottom of the screen of the video right now, it says svg1194.zip. So basically what happens is these come in as SVGs. If you haven't worked with SVGs before, it's really no worry. There's a lot of applications that can open them up. And in my particular case, the application that I happen to use is an application that's available in the App Store, and it's called Sketch. You can see that on screen right there. Now, Sketch is basically a vector-based art program. It will open SVG files. If you need more complex features, then obviously Illustrator, which is much more expensive, is going to be your option. But because I like lightweight applications and don't need a lot of the features that the Adobe products provide, this is what I've done. So here's what we have. Some of the icons that I've pulled down off of the Noun project. And what I've done, let's take a look at this particular airplane. In this particular program in Sketch, what happens is you can create one document and then put all of your icons for your project within that one document. Of course, you can then put those icons within the Theme Studio if you want to. But the primary focus is that we want to have things at double their size because of the Retina resolution. So if we take a look at the FileMaker database, we always want to get the original size of the object that we're working with. And with this button selected, I can see that it is a 60 by 60. In this case, I'm referencing pixels in my head, but FileMaker has switched to points because of resolution independence. But we know that we need something double than that. We need an image that's going to be at 120 by 120. And in fact, I also like to give myself a little bit of breathing room in order to make this bigger if I wanted to make the button even bigger. Remember, 44 by 44 is the Apple suggested guideline for something that is clickable on iOS underneath a finger press. So switching back over to Sketch, what you can see is the size I have selected there is 63 by 64, but that's not actually my export dimension. If I go into the export, which is this little item up here in this particular application, you can name each of the different exports according to what you want. You can see here I have mail, here I have the airplane, I can give it whatever word I want, and I can export them. Well, this particular program, and I don't know if Adobe Photoshop has this feature, but I would imagine that the newer versions of Photoshop and Illustrator do, that I can export at a 2x version. And this is what you're going to find in a lot of web design and in iOS design, supporting the Retina. Because of the pixel doubling, we need to export so that our version is double. So instead of 110, what is that, 220? So it'll be a 220 by 220. And when we export that, we can then optimize it. And then, of course, we can just import that directly into FileMaker. And that's exactly what I do. So basically, you're just going to take a button, you're going to duplicate it, select the appearance, you've exported your image, you're going to click Choose, and then import that particular object. So I have my graphics here, and then I have an optimized version of the ad, which is probably the plus, an airplane, alarm bell, mail, everything coming from the Noun project. So you can get the icons that you need, open source or paid or whatever you want to use, as long as you can import those. You're also going to import a pressed version. Now, if you really want to add a little bit of class to this, what you can do is on your pressed version, you can actually go into your graphics program and shift your icon down by either 1 or 2 pixels, or up 1 or 2 pixels. And what that does is it really gives a sense or a feel that when you press on that button, provided that FileMaker refreshes and shows the press fast enough, it actually feels like the icon is either going down or up, which is a really nice feature to add into your solution. But you can see on the pressed style of this particular button, I have the inverted version right there. And so that's what I get. Dismiss that dialog for my OS clone. All right, the other thing that you need to know that I talked about with regards to the field labels that actually appear, that is controlled by this particular text block right here, where we can see part of it is hanging within the actual layout. If we go in and we show the custom formatting that is on that, we can see that I'm simply using FileMaker's calculation dialog box in order to actually grab a particular field name, which may change if I went into define database or manage database and changed that. This would accept the change and reflect it so that it really wouldn't interrupt the functionality of this particular feature. But here you can see I've got the labels: first name, last name, company, address, address to, etc. And I'm going to leave it up to you to go head over to FileMakerMagazine.com if you want to take a look at how that actually is structured and the video. We obviously have a background gradient or a background image. And as I mentioned in the beginning part of the video, I've provided you with all of the different variations of the notes, where here we have our scrolling portal, and then simply above it is text. Then here we have an actual, just a regular text object with the image merged into the background. So if you're just looking for text where you can just edit that text and you want to use that particular note, there's the first variation, and then here is the second variation. Now also we have the horizontal note portal, where here you can see that every alternating row is the different looking note. So if I was to drag that into the layout, or you did that, you would be able to see that you can use a horizontal or a vertical scrolling portal. I don't know why I named that horizontal. It actually needs to be vertical. Sorry about that. And then finally we have a portal with alternating colors right here, which complements the theme that you can use. That's as opposed to the little dashed portal that we have right here. We also have, actually on the layout view, or on the list view I should say, we have all of the a number of different variations in terms of the colors that you can use. So say for example, if I wanted to change this background to a lighter blue, I'm simply going to use the appearance inspector, and I'm going to copy the object style right here that I have on the side for this particular theme, absorb it, that's how I think of it, and then dump it out. And of course I can do that across multiple objects as well, so that I get a whole change in the sidebar. Now if you need to change that on the other side as well, that's simply a matter of selecting on one of the objects and then applying. And then what we're going to do is we're simply just going to click this little icon right here, and we're going to reverse the direction of the gradient, which is going to flop everything onto this side. And then of course I can absorb that, and I can apply that to everything else as well. And that allows me to change the overall look and feel of the whole theme by changing it on the side. Now you notice that everything with regards to the buttons changes because everything underneath is actually coming through. That's because the buttons themselves are using a degree of transparent or translucent blacks in order to show their gradient, and the icons themselves are as well reflective of that. In fact, the icons, I want to point out that all of the icons come in black with style. They don't have any styles applied if you pull them from the noun project. I probably neglected to actually point this out. So what I need to mention is that if I select on this path, what you're going to see is that I have a fill, and I have shadows and inner shadows applied. One of the nice things about Sketch is I can actually go up here, and I believe I'm able to select on the object itself, and there we go. We have the copy style and paste style. So I don't actually have to tweak each and every individual icon. Using this program, using Adobe Photoshop, anything else, once you've applied a particular series of styles to an object, all you're going to have to do with all the rest of your icons is simply copy that style and apply it to all of the other icons, export them, and then import them, or load them into the graphic within FileMaker Pro or within the database. And it's very quick. It's very easy to do that. So other than that, this theme has pretty much standard elements of what I put in the rest of all of the other themes. You, of course, can expand this tab so that currently in this list view, it's only working within the header. But on this main view, it is working across all of the whole layout. But you, of course, can resize that to your heart's content. And as well, you can select any of the given objects and then change their gradient to match whatever color theme you want, and basically tweak this to your heart's content. But those are the primary features of this particular layout theme. I hope you enjoy using it for your project. And of course, if you have any needs for other themes, custom work, you can always email me at matt@filemakerthemes.com. Sometimes I do take on custom work. And as always, I'd like to wish you much luck with your own FileMaker development. And until I bring you a video about the next theme that I've done, Much luck and see you later.